Now, James chapter 1 is full of these amazing little nuggets. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into doors that don't open. When you pull on that door for hours and won't open up. Knowing this, that the trying of your faith produces patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom and can't open that door, let him ask of God that giveth to all men liberally, and unupbraideth not, and it shall be given to him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth like a wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed. And for let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. If I were to jump forward, verse 12, blessed is the man that endureth temptation. For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. 13 through 16 say, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away from his own lusts and enticed. And then when lust hath conceived, bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Do not err, my beloved brethren. 7 steps of sin. The steps that we take falling into sin. Verse 17, every good and perfect gift is from above, that cometh down from the Father of lights, which is whom there is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Of his own will begat he us with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Wherefore, my brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God. Wherefore lay apart all filthiness, superfluity of naughtiness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. Now we look at James chapter 1 and all the blessings and all the things that we've been asked to do, how we act. If we don't understand something, we ask for wisdom. We make sure that we're slow in that wrath. We slow to speak. We listen first, that we're engaged, that we're paying attention. And all of these things are listed. It even says that every good and perfect gift comes from the Father above, which gives to everyone equally, that he doesn't judge according to what your offering intake was or what you gave out in taxes or in your charitable donations or whatever it was. It just was because you were a son or daughter, being in his presence, in his courts. He begat with us the word of truth. This is a huge blessing in our life. This is one of the greatest gifts outside of salvation God gave us. Now, granted, we joke and say the Bible, basic instructions before leaving earth. And we say that, but this is really, truly what it is. Everything from cover to cover gives us our details from everyday life. But it has to be more than just hearing it. In the academy, we teach different things, from math to science to English to all the different things that we do. But on Fridays during life skills, we go out to the campground or we teach here, and all the things that we need to know about for practical application. But one of them is even building shelters and how to start fires and how to survive in case in Georgia you get caught in, a snowstorm and you're stranded in the woods for 3 days. It's possible. You have a better chance of getting stranded in Atlanta for 3 days more than the woods, but it still will work. And we can teach all the things. And we hear them. We take it in. Growing up, I was taught how to hunt. Never got the opportunity to put it in application until 2 years ago. You hear things. I bet many of you could start a fire with just what you find in this room. Please don't put that into practical application. But if you sat there and looked at the materials you had in here because someone told you, but does it really prove anything until you actually build it yourself? You can read a recipe all day long. There are some great readers out there who can read a recipe. But does it matter how good you are at hearing or watching the Food Network? Anybody ever watched? Okay, I'm just going to play for a minute. Anyone ever watched one of those shows? I won't, we'll probably have to edit Food Network out. Ever watched Food Network going, I can do that? And tried it? How bad did that turn out? It's like that beautiful, perfect cake is supposed to, this is why I don't bake too, y'all. That beautiful, perfect cake, which was supposed to rise, and be perfect, all of a sudden starts to come up, and all of a sudden goes, or you go to make something that's gourmet, and you've heard it, and think, well, I've heard that. I watched it on TV. I had a good night's sleep in the Holiday Inn. I should be able to do any of these things. And all of a sudden you go to do it, and what happens? That's the proof. So looking here, it talks about, wherefore, my brethren, let every man be swift. We already said all that. But verse 22, but be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. How many of us heard something, heard it once, and thought we were all of a sudden expert in what we heard? Because somewhere in our brain, whether or not we're talking about the influence from another kingdom in our mind, body, and soul, or we're talking about even our own intellect trying to reason out, we falsely reasoned our position, our place, our abilities, because we heard it once. Parents, how many of us have taught our kids something? It's funny. All I say is parents. And all of a sudden, most parents in here start going, I know where you're going. Preach it. All of a sudden, this thing, it's like we've taught our kids something. We go to tell them something. And they heard us. They heard because they said, yes, ma'am, or yes, sir. You assume they heard. And then what happens? Nada. Nothing. Or it's like, how do I say this? I have a pet peeve in my house. When you take the garbage out, you clean up around the garbage, and you put a new bag in. I have said this. How old is my oldest? 20-something years. To various children in my household. See, I'm trying not to name names. This is difficult. And you sit there and say, when you take the garbage out, pick the garbage up around, pull the garbage that fell through, which there wouldn't have been any garbage falling through if someone would have put the bag in it. And you say it how many times in a day? 2, 3, 4, but somewhere along the way, it doesn't translate to being a doer. Because they heard, but they didn't listen.